So we need more Traores in Africa. What's happening in Burkina Faso must be supported. What's happening in Niger must be supported. What's happening in Mali must be supported. The youth of Africa are sick and tired of being sick and tired. The issues of the root must be addressed. World Bank must stop giving us frivolous loans. World Bank must treat Africa fairly. Ours is a simple ask. We are simply saying to the world, we demand Africa that can be treated fairly, an Africa that can be treated as equals on the world stage, an Africa that is free of racism, bigotry, and hate. Our ask is a simple one. Our position is of stating the facts, stating the truth, constants that do not change. We're simply asking that the world does unto us what they would want done unto them. Anybody that has an issue that Africa has taken is somebody who is under earth. We want a peaceful world. We want a world that is just.
We're already sharing the speech from Dr. ARIKANA CHIHOMBORI because she is the one who preaching about the unity of Africa. Not only the unity of Africa, but she always is speaking about the borderless and everything that Africa we need to do in order to make Africa great again. And in this video, you are going to see and hear what Dr. ARIKANA CHIHOMBORI is speaking about what these Western countries in Africa trying to do or to liberate the continent of Africa and want the movement to be supported by other parties in this continent of Africa. So let us listen to this speech in full and then we'll come back to share the thought.
And that is all we are asking. That is all our children are asking. Our children are saying we're tired of watching our uranium power 2/3 of France while they call us a dark continent. Our children are saying we're sick and tired of seeing our mineral wealth fund Western education while we don't have quality education in Africa. Our children are saying we're sick and tired of seeing our natural resources fund healthcare in the Western world while we don't have access to that Western world. So it is the revolution that has been proclaimed, the revolution the likes of Kwame Nkrumah and others had hoped for. While it may have taken us years to get where we are, the unfinished business that our Pan-African fathers started back in 1963 must be completed, and our youth in Africa are acutely aware of that. The leadership that is not awakening, the leadership that doesn't understand that imperialism no longer has room in Africa, neocolonialism no longer has room in Africa, colonization no longer has room in Africa, exploitation of Africa can no longer continue. A leader who doesn't understand that is a leader whose days are numbered. The African youth are not taking it anymore. The African youth are awakened. Their eyes are open. And they're saying, you either stand up and defend what belongs to us, or we will repress you. Plain and simple. The unfinished business that our Pan-African fathers, the unfinished business that Kwame Nkrumah and many others started, it must be completed. It must be finished. You and I, we have a responsibility. You make us accountable as your elders. Make your leadership accountable. If your leadership is not accountable, replace them. I thank you. As I was getting ready for today's lecture, I came across a quotation from the man we are honoring today, His Excellency Kwame Nkrumah. He said, "A state in the grip of neo-colonialism is not master of its own destiny. It is this factor which makes neo-colonialism such a serious threat to world peace." Following him, there was Marcus Garvey prior to him. He said, "A people without the knowledge of their past history, origin, and culture is like a tree without roots." Jomo Kenyatta also reminded us that when the missionaries arrived in Africa, the Africans had the land and the missionaries had the Bible. They taught us how to pray with our eyes closed. When we opened our eyes, they had the land and we had the Bible. Finally, Patrice Lumumba said, "The day will come when history will speak. Africa will write its own history. It will be a history of glory and dignity." Ladies and gentlemen, this is the moment. It was 3:10 a.m. as I was fast asleep in my bed in Tennessee when my phone rang. On the other end, there was a woman by the name of Nkosazana Dlamini Zuma. She was the then chairman of the African Union. She proceeded to inform me that the then ambassador to the United States, the African Union ambassador to the United States, had just turned in her resignation and that she was going to be running for president of her country. A wonderful thing indeed. What was surprising, however, was that she wanted me to be the next African Union ambassador to the United States. Keep in mind, I am 1,000% scientist with zero experience or knowledge of diplomacy or even politics. I left Zimbabwe as a teenager to go to the university in the United States, had a degree in general chemistry, a master's in organic chemistry, went on straight to medical school, did a residency in general surgery and another one in family medicine, and went on straight to practice medicine for 25 years. Nothing to do with diplomacy in any way, shape, or form. So to my surprise, I said, Madam Chair, why on earth would you want somebody like myself to go to Washington, D.C. and be an ambassador? She said, well, look at me. I'm a pediatrician. I said, but you went to South Africa. You took positions that took you through the ranks of where you are now. I have no experience and you just want to throw me into the wolves. She said, no, we're tired of getting our rear ends kicked and we need somebody who understands the Americans. I said, I do understand the, you think so? She said, yes, you do. It took me 6 months of back and forth with her until finally I said, you know what? The joke is on you. I'm going to go to Washington. I'm going to have fun. I had not taken sabbatical since coming to the United States. I'm going to drink tea and be wined and dined, and after 6 months, I'm going to look at her and say, Madam, I tried, but I couldn't do it. So that was the plan. I actually did not look for an apartment. I stayed in a hotel for 5 months. I would go into the meetings and I would sit and I would be laughing at myself to say, what on earth are you doing in Washington, D.C., pretending to be a diplomat? What I ended up doing is sitting in the meeting rooms, and as a medical doctor, naturally, I'm making diagnosis. Oh, you got a goiter, I need to see you. Oh, you got bipolar, I got a pill for you. I'm making diagnosis of the congressmen and other politicians and ambassadors that were in the room because I did not think I could contribute to anything that was really going on. But from time to time, a comment would be made that would make me wake up and say, did I just hear that? Was that not an insult to us? Did that individual actually just abuse us? And I'm in the room with seasoned ambassadors. Ambassadors with years of experience. I'm waiting for one of them to say something. To my surprise, nothing was said. So the first month, I'm the new kid on the block. I'm just a medical doctor here. I just don't know what's going on here. I'm watching and I'm listening. And slowly I begin to realize there was something wrong going on. Why is it that we're not speaking up as ambassadors? We're here to represent 1.4 billion people who need our voices. Why are we mute? Well, you know, having been born and raised in Zimbabwe during apartheid, we fought. I was a young teenager when I saw many of my colleagues leave and join the revolution, and many died. So when it comes to fighting, I was prepared. I got to where I got so sick and tired of attending these meetings because I was sick and tired of the abuse. I attended meetings on the African continent and the abuse continued, and the muteness from us also continued until one day I said, enough is enough. I'm an African woman and I have been given a platform and I have a mandate. I shall exercise my mandate. You see, as a medical doctor, every day you're faced with people that come to you. Sometimes patients understand what's wrong with them. Sometimes they don't. We have a responsibility to help people figure out what's going on with them, organize their lives, make a diagnosis, give it a name, and help them deal with it. And in my stay in Washington, D.C., early on, I made a diagnosis that which was ailing was our ignorance and understanding of what was really going on, our fear of those who don't look like us, and the fact that we have been lied to, we have been miseducated, we have been misinformed. That had to change. So it is, I sought out to execute my mandate, which included, in addition to engaging the US government, it also included mobilizing the African diaspora to participate in the development of Africa. How could the diaspora participate in the development of Africa if they are ignorant about what is happening in Africa? So I started speaking to them. I summarized it in a very simple matter. That we have a responsibility to finish the unfinished business that was started by our Pan-African fathers back back in 1963 when they met in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. Sadly, when our ancestors, our Pan-African fathers went to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, they were divided. We had the Casablanca group, which was led by Kwame Nkrumah. It was Ghana, Guinea, Mali, Egypt, Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia. They were the Casablanca group that said Africa for the Africans and African Union now. They wanted change. They understood the importance of unity. They knew for Africa to move forward, Africa must speak with one voice. They demanded an Africa with one customs union, an Africa with one central bank, an Africa with one military, an Africa that was truly integrated, because it is only that Africa that's going to deliver true African liberation, economically, politically, and otherwise. Failure to accomplish that is a defeat for the African people. There were only 7. The majority were the Monrovia group. There were 35. They said, let's kind of hold off on this unity thing. You see, they had tasted a little bit of this superficial, fake independence. Let's kind of go slow. 2024, we're still going slow. The Monrovia group were the majority, they won. We often say, Africa lost in 1963 when the Casablanca group succeeded at thwarting that which the Casablanca wanted. The Monrovia group failed us. Year in, year out, the African leaders would meet. The issue of an Africa that spoke with one voice was tabled. And year in and year out, NATO nations were in full force to say to it that the African leaders do not vote for an Africa that spoke with one voice. Not always they remain in full force to make sure that Africa never gets to be united. We have failed Africa. Our leadership has failed Africa. Allow me to describe what I call the African tree of life. A tree of life that once upon a time thriving. It gave the most luscious fruits, beautiful flowers. A tree that everybody counted on. A tree that fed the African people. Something happened. The flowers don't bloom as beautiful as they used to be. The branches keep falling off. The leaves are never as green and luscious as they should be. So they, through the media, mainstream media, through the NGOs who come in sheep's clothing. We know they are wolves. Through the embassies throughout Africa, they have made you believe that it's your problem. See, these fruits are not doing like they should, it's because it's your problem. Focus on the fruits, focus on the leaves, focus on the branches. They don't want you to focus on the root. You see, if you don't address the issues of the root, you will forever be talking about the flowers, the branches and the leaves of this tree, year in and year out. And that's what we have been taught to believe. On top of that, while they continue to lie to us, while they continue to throw us a shiny object and want us to focus on frivolous things that do not address the root. Don't forget, the biggest defeat was the mind. When they made us believe that white was bad, black is bad, you are like the devil, you represent the devil, your color is bad, and you must denounce even yourself. And when you are denouncing yourself, you must praise them. Even though we know very well that their skin is a mutation of the original, which is you. The original DNA. Anybody else that does not look black is a mutation of the original thing. They made you forget that. They made you forget that. So you see, they set the stage. They've been lying to us for years, for centuries. They even taught you to hate yourself. So let's go to the bottom, to the root of why the African tree is ailing. They started with the mind. And until you realize that as a black person, you're suffering from the legacy of colonization, until you realize as a black person, you're suffering from the legacy of slavery, nothing, and I mean nothing you do is going. And fathers of humanity, one who must stand on top of the tallest mountain and proclaim to the world who you are. Why are you failing to do so? Because you've been put asleep. You have been lied to. And it is only you who can make that change. It is only you who can look in the mirror and say, I am beautiful. I am the mother of humanity. I am the father of humanity. What will it take, my brothers and sisters, for you to understand that basic fact? And until you do, your ability to change Africa is going to fail. Tell me why. That we are all very much aware that the World Bank and IMF are using the rating agencies. I'm now talking about the issues of the root. They're using rating agencies to label African governments and give them poor ratings so the World Bank can justify giving frivolous interest rates to African governments. Today, as we speak, the average African country is paying way over 50% of their GDP on loan repayments to the World Bank. Loans that we all know very well, they have been paid a gazillion times over. And yet, twice a year, our ministers of finance, they go to Washington to attend the World Bank meetings. They say nothing. They know this is happening. Mr. Minister, Honorable Minister, what on earth are you doing? All of you collectively, why can't you go to the World Bank and say, enough is enough, we are no longer paying for these loans? And you know why they're not doing it? They're scared. They're scared for those who don't look like them.
Once it comes to the speeches and ideas of uniting Africa, Dr. ARIKANA CHIHOMBORI Kwao, she's the one who is always speaking about the unity of Africa. And we always listen to the speech from the Julius Malema, also from Joshua Maponga, Professor Piero Lumumba, and so on, because these people are the ones who preaching about what Africa need to do in this century, because our founding fathers, they did the best in their time, and let us now, we the current generation, take this stick to the ending line, to the finishing line. So brothers and sisters, and I hope you heard very well the speech from Dr. ARIKANA CHIHOMBORI Kwao, and as I said before, she wants to support this movement of liberating Africa, or this movement of uniting Africa, because now Africa will need an action, and the time for action is now. And who will do this is we. That's why our brothers are there in West Africa. I'm speaking about Captain Ibrahim Traore from Burkina Faso, Chiani from Niger, and Assimi Goita from Mali. They started the movement in action. So the rest of African leaders must join this track, because the destiny that these three brothers want is the destiny that we all Africans we want, because nothing more we can do, this current generation, apart from liberating the continent and be back to the owners, I mean we Africa. So brothers and sisters, kings and queens, sons and daughters, let me end here, and I hope you heard well the speech from Mama ARIKANA CHIHOMBORI. Please share your thought in the comment section. This is Fact About Africa, the African channel share problem. Means we share solutions for our own problem in Africa, because we believe African solution, African problem for African solutions.